Hello and welcome to the Blueprint Roundtable. I'm your host, Chrissy Manzano, joined by Chuck Brotman and Emily Bell. The Blueprint Roundtable is an ongoing series with our team and occasional guests. In each session, I'm going to ask the team a simple question related to trends in recruiting, talent, and go-to-market for discussion and debate. This week's question: should athletic experience be a key factor in hiring? So the clock starts now, officially.
All right, I'm going to jump in. I have a pretty clear opinion on this one, being a collegiate athlete myself. I think that there are absolutely skills and behaviors within folks who have played competitive sports, particularly at the collegiate level or above, that are indicators of success in sales. I think the important thing, though, as hiring managers or companies is to know what exactly you are assessing for. So what skills and behaviors you want to find. Just because someone was an athlete doesn't mean that they have all of those. So I think still, using it as an indicator to pique interest and take a look at the candidate is great. One thing that I'll say athletes are really, really good at is the mental game that comes into being good in sales long term, because especially from it being a quarter over quarter type of, what have you done for me lately? Like, you win one quarter and you got to restart. And also kind of having that mindset of what I do today is going to benefit me 4 months from now. It's a mentality that you can have even if you're not an athlete, but most people that have played at that level of performance, it's so ingrained into how they approach most facets of their life. So I would say yes, but you have to be assessing for the correct skills and behaviors that are associated with it. Chuck, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I've managed former athletes who've made exceptional sellers, and I've had former athletes who struggled at sales. I think that the key thing, I'd almost suggest that instead of looking for athletic experience as some proxy for sales effectiveness or ability to be talented in any professional role, that we commit ourselves as leaders and hiring managers to being curious about people's backgrounds in general and the paths they've taken into the professional world, and where there are transferable skills and passions they've honed in other pursuits, whether it's athletic execution or in other forms of work or in the military or as volunteer or community activists, right? There's so many different ways that people can contribute to society and to the business world.
Sure.
Athletic experience can certainly be valuable. Athletic achievement, I work with a gold medalist, right? Ton of respect for folks who've been successful, and I really do, by the way. But yeah, it's it's the problem that I've seen in my work as a recruiter and going back is when people turn athletic experience into this proxy they look for as an alternative for certain forms of experience, which ultimately can make it more difficult for those who have, other backgrounds and journeys to get the same access to opportunity.
We just like to box people in so much so we don't have to do work on people we don't know. That's like saying, and you all might actually disagree, that's like saying everyone who went to Harvard is super smart and has high EQ. And I think we all know that that's not true. There's con artists that have come out of that. Maybe that's actually, they're considered smart because they can con people. But, we always talk about looking at skills and behaviors. And there's a lot of things, having been an athlete myself, not a collegiate one, but there's a lot of things that athletics and sports do really well. And a lot of people get super strong traits from those, which I can absolutely understand, like looking at those things, especially if someone was an athlete. But I would say we should be looking for those things regardless of if they're an athlete or not, right? So if those are things that are core to your team, someone being an athlete shouldn't be the reason that you think they would be good at that. It should be something that's a part of your hiring process, right? So I think that's the piece where it, can be kind of extreme. But so.
Well said.
Thanks.
Yeah. I would say, sometimes even when people tend to use classifications or kind of broad stroke generalizations about categories of people, it's oftentimes, to play it safe. It's not, it's like, well, they should have been great at this. They were an athlete. So it's like, making sure, like you mentioned, Chrissy, it's using that as a potential indicator, but also following through with the standard regimen that is, assessing for all the other things that you're looking for and identifying, other areas in their life where they also could have been able to develop the types of behaviors
Right.
that you need for success. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, if people can go into interviews with curiosity
Yeah.
about talent, curiosity about applicants and about their backgrounds, right? With, as you mentioned, Emily, if you have the profile defined and the specific matrix of skills and behaviors that matter for that role in your organization, recognize that we all have different life paths. There are many things that people have done in this world that are impressive and I have no knowledge of. But if I go into interviews and screening calls with a level of curiosity, I can learn and find opportunity to see transferable skills and passions in action that could be excellent for my organization and my clients.
Yes.
What's interesting? Something that just popped in my head was, I will say sometimes I do think it's the organization knowing that the role is a grind and not having necessarily the willingness to correct some of the challenges that are there. So it's like, we just need to put people in here that can endure it. And most likely it's going to be people that have endured a lot of other things too, as far as like mental stamina, which is, I think that's one thing that like candidates deserve more. People need to come in and also receive from organization, not just come in and serve the greater good. So
Yep.
another thing from it, maybe a different lens. And from an athlete standpoint too, if they're really narrowing in on that, an indicator for a candidate to maybe ask some questions around company culture and expectations of work-life balance. Because
Right.
when I was an athlete in college, that was your life and there wasn't much
bad.
else. So, a lot of good.
I didn't do it in college.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I joke I retired 2 years into my 4-year collegiate experience because I needed to graduate on time, and that was not going to happen if I had to work all of this other scheduling in along with all my prerequisites. So, I think it's an indicator if they want just people that come from that mindset. It's great to have hustle mentality, but everybody deserves work-life balance, So
Yeah,
my 2 cents.
100%. And I think just in hiring in general, we've got to be more comfortable being uncomfortable with talking to people we don't know, right? Like we're not very great. We have there's nothing wrong with earning trust, right? But we're kind of brutal on people when we're hiring. We want them to make us feel great and make us feel so comfortable. And that's where you get a lot of these biases, albeit unconscious, right? And boxing people and like, oh, they're an athlete, that makes me feel better. Okay, so everything they say, I'm hoping that'll make me feel better, that they
Yeah.
really can handle this, and like,
Yeah.
I'm they're going to be set up versus doing that work to understand those processes and those core competencies and skills beforehand. It's work. It's not fun work, but when you do it, it's going to save you time and time again, right? So just not boxing people in. I think
Yep.
that's kind of the theme here, right? And being, like you said, Chuck, curious. But all right, you all, we're at time. We're getting close to it.
Good
But
chat.
thank you for your input and your views. Hopefully this is helpful for some other people. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Until the next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.